And I must tell you that I'm very happy to invite Dr. Karin Widegren. And she has been very, very active in policy making, right? She is chairperson, International Smart Grid Action Network. And she is really very, very passionate about the topic of smart grid. And I'm quite curious about her talk on the topic of skilling. I'm happy that I'm able to invite a lady to talk. I must tell you, for our country, nobody talks about, but gender disparity is a huge problem, right? We conducted a study in collaboration with National Skill Development Corporation, and we're trying to understand, the skilling that's happening in India, both for boys and girls, male and female, how the ladies are doing. Our study shows that ladies are actually doing better than the guys, right? But when you look at job situation, participation of women in the labor force is actually reducing. In 2005, it was 36.8%, and it's reducing every year. Even last year, we further reduced. 2018, it is 26.9%. Can you imagine? In India, female labor force participation rate is just 26.9%. Nobody talks about it. It's a huge problem. And you go to any forum, you look at the delegates, you look at the speakers, right? The ratio of female is very low. I am indeed privileged and feel proud that you are here, and we look forward to your talk.
Thank you very much for this introduction. So when we're talking about skills and what is needed in the future, the previous speaker mentioned his own education. So before talking about ISGAN and what ISGAN is doing, I got the idea to do the same. So I'm actually educated as an architect. There is no churches, no beautiful houses that I have designed, unfortunately. I moved from, when I have my exam in architecture, I took interest in how energy efficient buildings could be made, how you can integrate solar. At these times, it was solar water heater. It was long ago. So in the buildings and making passive solar houses. So I moved to the energy field, and I stayed there. So my career is moving from architecture to smart grid over buildings, energy efficiency, and so forth. And I think that is a good illustration of that what education and skills is about. It's a continuous learning. You can't stay where you are. You have to do new things, learn new things, and that makes your work much more fun. So looking at the power industry, I think the power industry has gone through tremendous change. Of course, this is happening all over the world. If I look at what's happening in Sweden, which is my home country, power industry was very, very technical oriented when I come in to discuss smart development for grids and energy efficiency and how utilities can promote energy efficiency, because that's why I got into the utility industry. So the people who were working with the network and the system was very technical oriented and didn't care a lot about the customers. The customers was like, it was more like load. It was not customers. So, and the people who work in market, they didn't know much about the network. So there was a huge divide between skills and understanding of the different aspects. And the tendency to, or the possibilities with smart grid is really also opening up for integrating all these skills. It's not enough to just understand the electrical components in the distribution system. You have to understand what the customers will need, how you can develop a smart solution. Their customers are more engaged, so you have to understand customer behavior. You have to understand some marketing. And so this is development which I think is very obvious everywhere. the positive thing with this development is, of course, that for those who have, and this is a special gender issue, I think, so with the development to smarter energy systems, you also get a higher level of interest from people who are not purely technically interested. So there is a large potential to gain interest from young people in the utility industry when you talk about it's about people, it's about our future and our homes. That will give a much larger interest to the business. And in Sweden, you can see that, but because we do have more women in the business probably than you have in India, but it's still a problem to get women interested in technical and engineering educations. And when you have young girls into making practical work and shorter training, showing that utility industry is not only about technology, it's about our future, it's about the environment and sustainability, then you get a larger portion of interest. So I think that's an important aspect. The other thing I would like to bring up is also the need for sector coupling. It's not only electricity. You have to have a broad system understanding of electricity, heating, how to integrate with other vectors, and with also transport sector with electrical vehicle. So expand your knowledge to a more system approach, including different sectors, is of course also a key issue when you're talking about skills. So with this personal perspective on the issue, I will just conclude with mention what ISGAN is doing. So our main goal is to help governments to develop smarter and more sustainable energy systems through the use of smart grid. So we focus on policy messages, but we are also an important network where we have exchange knowledge between practitioners. And I think the networking and exchange of knowledge over borders, taking advantage of experience from other countries, is a very important part in education and skills. Skills could be received. It's not only to take courses, also to discuss your problem with your peers and understand that there are different solutions. And we are also doing this in practice through what we call the ISGAN Academy. It's a web-based or a webinar, e-platform for webinars, where we are giving lectures on smart grid, different aspects of smart grid. And these webinars are basically utility people who have not been so much involved in smart grid application is our main target group. So this is something practical that we do in promoting skills in the smart grid field. So yeah, with these small reflections, I give the floor to the next speaker. Thank you.